So welcome guys, as usually, let's start with the USD Canadian dollar. Um, yes, I had something on the weekly charts from the previous zooms, which is also kind of like forming divergence right there and a lower volume. And as I said, the chart should go up and down, and that's exactly what we saw on the weekly base, because there is a lower volume inside, and what I would expect is forming divergence and move to the downside. Okay, what we could see on the daily, we are still above the zero line, but we are in red with a low volume. So I would say this to continue for the next week. Not expecting that much actually from the market. Down, up, and after that, this should form something. The best case scenario will be if we can make a bullish candle next week, even if it's a small one. That will trigger the divergence, and after that we could see a proper down move. So that's the aim for next week on the USD CAD. Actually, you see there is a lot of mixed things right there, but the bulls are still in charge actually. Okay, but I repeat, I expect a sideways movement inside the market. And the Audi NZD, actually, here I would like to see kind of like a retest on the previous points, and after that another movement to the downside because the previous structure just broke. So this is my scenario here. And on weekly we are still bearish on each of the indicators, so yeah, that's what I'm looking for, and we are under the zero line. Okay, let's see what the price does here. If the volume is rising, there is a chance, but I would say stick to this first of all. But that's also a perspective, because what we do is look at the charts like this, okay? And if this breaks, then the possibility to go even higher. This could be a very good scenario, probability in the market, but like I said, let's see what the price does here. From the other side, we can see a structural divergence from the downside and from the upside as well. Okay, here is the peak of that move, and until it doesn't reach this high, the price should go to the downside. Okay, and like I said, we are still under the zero line, so this is best possible scenario that we can look for right now. But first, let it form. Then Euro CHF. The Euro CHF made huge move to the downside actually, and what we can see is a forming pattern on the weekly, which is a buy signal. So bullish divergence, what we can witness, that's forming, but this could go even a lower point, but there will be still divergence. Okay, so let it form this one, and after that, kind of like I would expect a reversal move. On the daily perspective, we cannot see anything for the bulls right now, because there is a big gap between the two. The volume is going to the downside, And as you see, the destroyer is also moving to the downside. Okay, but we can't reject the fact that there is a divergence forming right there. So this is next day. Okay. On the Euro GBP on weekly basis, we remain in the buy side of the charts, and there are two target zones right there. On the daily perspective, we have actually very good divergence, and we are above the zero line, and this is a lot more clear sign than what we could see on the Euro CHF. But as you know, CHF is a safe haven as well for the investors, because CHF have the same effect as kind of like gold. When there is panic in the market, people running to the CHF because they said it's the most stable thing. But yeah. All right. So this is a very good scenario from the Euro GBP. That's what I'm looking for. Then we have the Dixie, the dollar index on daily basis. I already drawed something. I would like this scenario the best of all, but it depends how the destroyer reacts on it and how the Monday starts. Actually, when if we see an aggressive move, then the destroyer shouldn't follow, and after that there is a possibility for the divergence. But right now we are above the zero line. There is a smaller volume, so the push can get in. But like I said on the USD CAD, I'm waiting similar things here actually, because there is also very high volume on the destroyer. This should make kind of like a sideways move, like it goes up, down, up, down. Okay, so looks like this month is about more likely for the consolidation side, like you saw here. Not an aggressive market, spike to the upside, and then an aggressive break actually. But those aggressive candles leads us always to a divergence. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. So first of all, an up move, and after that there is a possibility down move. But like I said before, let it form first before you step in. Okay, but this is something that's the dollar showing us, and that's pure dominance of the market. Then we have the CXY. The CXY, I also draw here a possible scenario, and it's already made the divergence what I was waiting for. But it still has something in it, like there is still a gap between the two. Not that big, but there is still a gap between the two, and the VV moving to the downside, so it can still fall a bit. And after that, this was my scenario. I would like to see the price to go even bit lower, but also in a sideways move. So I don't expect something aggressive right now. Okay, just one more candle, confirm the divergence, and after that we can see a beautiful XABCD, like you saw this before a couple of times, kind of like this, what I would expect actually. Okay, on the daily side, we are under the zero line with a very low volume. The destroyer is already forming something bearish, and the REMA is also crossed to the downside. But like I said, I want to see something goes to the down, then goes to the up, or even kind of like these candles, but nothing big actually. Then we have the AXY, and AXY made a divergence, and after that we could saw a very strong pullback, but like I said, the strong pullbacks leads us often to reverse divergences. Okay, so this is my scenario here. The price goes down, and after that it should go up in the first place to make a retest. But it's also crazy, but oh, I'm gonna wait for it. Yeah, focus on this. So there is also low volume right there, and this could be a very good scenario. Okay, on the weekly basis, we are still moving to the downside. The volume is decreasing right there. So, but there is still a huge gap between the two. Okay, the destroyer moving to the downside, but is on a pretty low point, 6.66. Very nice. I will wait for it when it does right here. This is the sign. Then we are heading to the Japanese yen, and the Japanese yen, let's start with the weekly perspective. This is also similar, but not, because as you see, there is a huge structural divergence inside, and this gonna break soon. Like, this has to make some pullbacks. We are talking right now just about pullbacks. Okay, there is a low volume inside. There is also a structural divergence because this low is already broken. All right, so that's is what I'm looking for the next week. And this is a possible scenario as well. Make a divergence right there to go on a lower spot, and after that, a reversal move. Right, but we are still in a strong down movement. Right, there is also some structural divergence, actually. So keep an eye on that. The BXY almost the same as the AXY. There was also a huge divergence, and after that we could saw a very strong candle to the downside, and here I would expect the same. There is something started, and when these things happens in the market, then it leads us to a divergence or a structural divergence. Right here we can see the same. So the price moving down aggressively, but it doesn't change color. So this could also make a structural divergence, and after that we're gonna be closer to the zero line, so we have more space to move, and the bigger movements will always happen after the zero line. Okay, that's what we are looking for. So the weekly basis is similar to the rest of the currencies. Actually, everything is in red. Okay, there is some volume decreasing, but that's it. There is a huge gap between the two. But there was a break. There was a break. You could see that. Okay. Then we have the SXY, and the SXY, like I said, was the stronger ones because like the BXY, AXY, and the rest of the currencies made a divergence right there. And here's also something forming, but as you see, we didn't get the sell signal right there. And the Remo is bouncing as well. So the volume is moving up aggressively. It is a lot higher volume that we could see in this area, actually. So the SXY is built different. Yep. On the weekly basis, there is already started something, a buy signal. And as you see, the previous signals, like, okay, here was a bit of a mess, but this is more like clear thing. You get the buy, goes up. You get the sell, goes down. You get the buy, goes up. You get the sell sideways, but it goes down. You get the buy, it goes up. You get the sell, it goes down a little bit, but it goes. Then you get the buy, divergence, sell. Okay, but you have right now the buy right there. So this is also a good example why we are looking for those things on the other currencies, because if the DXY gets weaker, then the rest of the currencies get some breathing space and can move. And most likely the SXY will move most aggressively. But back to the Euro CHF. Don't ignore this. Right? Then we have the AXY. The AXY is also forming something and it couldn't break actually. But there is still low volume right there and a possible divergence forming with structural divergence as well. So this leads us to another movement, and we are getting closer and closer to the zero line. And that's something that we can go with it. But right now, everything is in red. Wait for the green signal and go with the flow. The ZXY, I got a target point on the fib 38, but it didn't reach. There was actually small space between the two, but yeah, it didn't reach actually. But what we can see is the fib, which is also moving. So we have right now another point. But let's see the weekly. On the weekly, I would say something like this will be a cute scenario because we made a low. And we see here an aggressive move to the downside, but we didn't see anything on the destroyer. And this can lead us to a divergence and a structural divergence similar as on the AXY. And that's the thing what we are looking for. I already marked it. And then last week was very interesting because even if the last days the DXY got stronger, what we could see from the gold is abnormal. Like it's not normal thing, not a normal movement. And I said this last week that if there is a pullback happens, it should be corrective. But right now, this candle isn't just corrective. Like we needed a war for it. Like yeah, as you know, uh, Israel and Palestine is in war, and we needed that for this crazy movement. But crazy movement leads us to crazy ends as well. And that's what I want to see actually right here. Even if we got this strong candle, the VV didn't turn into green. And that's need to have a question. Why is that? Okay. And I'm gonna try to explain it on smaller time frames as well. But right now we are on a very edge because we are dancing on the zero line. It is heading up, and that was a crazy movement, about 1,000 pips that we are talking about in only 1 week. So there was 1,000 pips here. It's just crazy in 1 week time. That was a long time ago that we could see something like this. And as you remember, I draw here a possible divergence, and there is still a possibility for the divergence because it closed under the previous high, which means there is a chance for divergence. But from the other side, there is a rising volume under the zero line yet, but there's a rising volume. So even if it happens something like a reversal of we gonna need a very strong pullback of, first of all, a sideways move to set it up, and after that we're gonna see a strong pullback. Okay, but right now on the daily perspective, this isn't sexy for the sell side because everything is in green. So there is hard to predict anything what is about to happen. Right now, I would say wait for the Monday, how the price is reacting. If the price is going up, then the buy side should continue. But if you see that there is a slower movement and creating something like a sideways move, I would look more into the downside because those big candles are mostly the end of a huge movement. So when you see a big candle, it leads mostly to the end of that movement. And this was a correctional move after it fell down, actually. And before I go into smaller time frames, let's see on monthly basis. And this is exactly why I'm saying this. As you see, there is a huge divergence between the two. We are still above the zero line, but there is a huge divergence forming in the structure. There is still a sell side. So as you see, the destroyer didn't react on it. Drama did. Drama did. But there is still 16 days left from this month. So much thing can happen in the following 16 days. Okay, let's see on 12 hour. On 12 hour, we already see a sell signal, but it was formed here and the price went up, which leads us to a divergence. Okay, it went up to the overbought zone right there. This is also an overbought zone. So yeah, we are seeing something here, but right there, there is still a high volume. All right, let's see into a smaller time frame, 6 hour. On the 6 hour, we already had a divergence, but there is another divergence forming right there. Okay, so if I compare anything, okay, like we see the daily side is bullish, the weekly side is bearish yet, the monthly side is bearish yet. I have the conclusion of those smaller time frames as well, that this is like a forced movement, like it happened because doesn't care what the reason is. They said because of the war. All right, I believe it. Like, as you know, my entry was exactly on this point. On this point was my entry, and here was my exit. Because of that, here was my exit. Because of that huge gap, what happened here? I thought it was gonna close, and I was actually waiting for that. But um, to be honest, all I had to do is here sticking with break even and let it run because that was one of the hell of the move, right? Okay, on 4 hour, we see also a divergence. So we see a divergence on 6 hours, we see a divergence on 4 hours forming. And let's see on 1 hour. That is something strange when the destroyer is reacting like that right there. Yeah. The volume is decreasing. There is the divergence, which is not a beautiful one, but this is a divergence because we got here our sell signal and here was a higher volume level, like it was 79, and after the second buy is 39. Eh? 93, sorry. 93 and 97. Okay, so what we can see is also a structural divergence forming. It's not formed yet, but it's forming. Okay, and it goes to the downside, which is also pretty interesting. And we're going one time frame smaller. It is also a structural divergence, huge one. And here is a possibility for another divergence. So there is also, I would like to see something sideways or something like that, because here is also divergence. Okay, there was divergences before, like here was a small. Okay, here was also a continuation. Here was also continuation. Here was also a divergence, and here was also a continuation. Okay, so we see a lot of divergences right there in this structure. But what is more important here, the divergences before didn't have the structural divergence, which we have right now, which means we are getting closer and closer to the zero line, and that is leading us to another movement. Okay, so if you compare all of the time frames, what you can see is most likely telling us that it shouldn't go up. But like I said, wait for that Monday, what the price want to do. And after that, we're gonna have a more clear picture. Okay, because if the weekly starts bearish, this should just continue and reject this line, and the slow moving average should break to under the zero line as well. Okay, and still the monthly, that's still my sign. And of course, when I said the previous zooms, don't forget this on the yearly basis, 2 months left, and there is a huge divergence forming on the yearly, which we didn't saw it before. Okay, so yeah, that's it. A quick look on the crypto side. I should start with BTC, and the BTC has made a divergence and went a bit up a couple of $1,000s. But right now, what we can see is a rejection as well. Rejection from the REMA. As you see, it moves to the downside, it turned into red, and it's around the zero line. So that's exactly why I said on the last Zoom, wait for this month. Then we have here also a more clear sign, because right now we are on the edge. There is two possibilities. We have a divergence right there, and by end of this month, this could go lower. It will mean the VV turns into red as well, and it can go to the downside. Or the another scenario, that we are closing this month bullish, and this divergence breaks as convergence goes further to the upside, and if it does, we can even see the previous point of 45,000. Okay, So that's why I'm saying wait for it. Wait for what happens. Like there was a red sign 2 seconds ago, but there was something happen. Okay, oh, it's moving to the upside, and that's why I'm saying look into that point, because on the daily basis, this could be a divergence, but this is not a divergence, not a valid one. Um, well, structural divergence we can say eventually, but not on the destroyer, because this should be the previous point. Actually, that was a divergence, move to the downside. Okay, so that is about the BTC, how I'm seeing it actually. And let's see another currency, the XRP. The XRP made a divergence, and it's most likely moved to the downside, but the week didn't close yet, so there is still a chance for a pullback. But on the monthly side, we got the sell signal, which is not that sexy, and I'm gonna switch to something else. Let's say this one. Okay. So what we can see, bit of more data. What we can see is mostly a correctional move right there. We got the sell signal, but it's still moving up. The slow moving average still above, but we have a sell signal, and this is in red on the monthly basis. It's not that sexy, not that sexy, but still about. And if you see the higher time frames, there's a different scenario. So what I would expect from this is actually an up move, but but right now depends on the 16 days. This could go one more time to this low, or even a bit lower, and after that should be a huge move to the upside. But like I said, it depends on the 16 days what we have, but there is still a chance for this divergence. Okay, until the sell does not form, and this can still go to the upside, and 2 weeks gonna be enough to show us what the XRP want to do. Okay, on the daily perspective, we get a buy signal. And what is interesting, that we are heading to the zero line. Like we broke the structure, but we are heading to the zero line, and we playing around that zero line, because here was a huge structural divergence after this pullback to the downside. Structural divergence after that, here is the low, and it's almost reaching that point, which means on each move to the downside, we are getting closer to the zero line, which leads more likely to an up movement. Okay. And this is it, guys, for the currencies. Let's see what we have for Monday. Monday, we're gonna start with CPY. And the Empire State Manufacturing and CPY from the NZD. Okay, so this should be some liquidity on Monday. After that, Tuesday, the unemployment rate and employment rate, this could affect the market. And after that, we're gonna continue with CPY of the Canadian dollar. The retail sales, not that important, but there are 4 of them, so this could lead us to a bigger movement as well. Wednesday Euro CPY. There is another CPY right there. and building permits. Nothing big in my opinion. So most likely the CPY is gonna have the attention. The Thursday unemployment rate and employment change from the Australian dollar should make a big move. There is also a huge difference between the two. Doesn't matter because we are looking to the charts, not to this, but when you see such a big difference between two numbers, there is most likely something big to happen. Okay. Then after that, we're gonna have a Powell speech and jobless claims, which should affect the market. And Powell speech, exactly 18. It will be interesting. And Friday, inflation rate from GPY, not big thing. It's not worth it. Yeah, if you see something midnight, then I think this is gonna be worth it. And Friday, continue with retail sales. Not a big deal in my opinion. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. I see you next week. Thanks for your attention and have a great evening. Bye bye.